Okay, so welcome to this afternoon meditation. Welcome. Just a brief overview of what we'll be covering. Do a meditation first, so I'll just guide you into a nice deep meditation for about half an hour. We'll meditate on today's workbook lesson, which is 71, and section 8 of chapter 9, which is on grandeur versus grandiosity. So I'll read that to you. And then we'll come out of that, do an expression session, which is just expressing whatever's on your mind, on your heart. And that usually brings up some subjects for discussion. So we can move then into a discussion session. And I also want to discuss the okay, so sorry about that, just froze briefly. So just closing your eyes. Putting your phone on mute or silent so you won't be disturbed for the next half an hour. Just sitting comfortably with your feet shoulder width apart. Just cup your hands on your lap. Keep your back straight. Sitting on a chair. Feet shoulder width apart. It's a nice comfortable posture. You could sit cross-legged as well. Sit cross-legged on the floor. You could sit with feet out in front of you. Just prop your back. Again, something that's usually helpful to keep a straight back and make sure you're comfortable. Those are the only two real requirements for a good meditation posture. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. Notice how the stomach's rising, chest rising, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just clench your sphincter muscle. That's the muscle you use to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. And just draw the energy up the spine into the crown of your head. Put one hand on your heart center. Feel a nice, warm, comforting sensation rising up from the spine to the crown of your head, a warm thread of energy. Just bringing your attention completely into the present moment by focusing all of your attention on these subtle sensations of the breath. Top of the inhale, take another nice deep breath in, and just scan your mind to just check in and notice whatever happens to be going on for you. Anything negative, restrictive, limiting, contracting. Scan your mind and just notice whatever those things are. Any thoughts or emotions coming up, just breathe into them. Breathe into any darkness you feel, so any tightness, any tension showing up anywhere in your body. Imagine you breathing in a beautiful golden or white light. And you're just surrounding this, whatever the dark feeling is, dark thoughts, the light. Imagine you just penetrating through the clouds, brushing them aside. They're just covering a beautiful blazing light in your mind. So you just brush past them through the cloud patterns into the light. Breathe that light into every pore, every cell, every muscle, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is in the light. Say, today's workbook lesson, only God's plan for salvation will work, or if you prefer, only love's plan for salvation will work. Feel the surety, the certainty, comfort of those words. Take another sip of air in, so you're completely filled up with air, with light. And in the presence of the light, no darkness can really continue, so you just exhale. Imagine you blowing all this darkness away, these dark clouds, blowing away with the breeze of your breath. From the lower stomach into the spine at the bottom of the exhale. And just find a sense of emptiness, spaciousness at the bottom of the exhale. Really notice in the gaps between breaths, in the gaps between words. It's light that opens up. And then just breathe in smoothly again. So breathing in, notice how the stomach rises, chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Nice deep full inhale, clench the sphincter muscle, draw the energy up the spine, feel a warm thread of energy rising up the spine into your heart center. Put one hand on your heart and draw the energy all the way up into the crown of your head. Smile. Notice the light that you've created in the last few minutes. Just a nice, calm, empty, open, spacious awareness. You don't even have to visualize light. If that happens, if that works for you, then do it. No problem. It's whatever works. But it's really just a feeling of lightness. You're light-hearted. Put one hand on your heart, and you just feel light, free, carefree. There's no worries, no problems to darken this light. In the light, you are naturally happy, peaceful, joyful. Smile. Just let this light radiate from the depths of your being and express in a smile. And now you exhale. This time, keep your mouth closed. So air flows out of your nostrils. Make a little sighing sound in the back of your throat. Sigh it all out. Notice the sighing sound. Notice the air flowing out of your nostrils. The chest and the stomach suck back in. Gently, the energy that you raised up into the crown just subsides back down like a wave breaking back into the ocean. You notice that sound. And you smile at the bottom of the exhale. It's really notice in the gaps between breaths that the light opens up in your mind. There's this beautiful, spacious emptiness, which you could call light. And it's just naturally peaceful and happy. It's a smile. And then repeat the cycle. So breathing in again. Just get into a nice, deep rhythmical pattern of diaphragmatic breathing. Breathe in through your nose, let the stomach rise, the chest rise. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale, clench the sphincter muscle, feel the light. Imagine a column of golden or white light rising up from the base of your spine into the crown of your head. Feel a warm tingling sensation. Smile in the gap between breaths. And then exhale out through the nose. Sigh it all out. Notice the sighing sound, the air flowing out of your nostrils. Chest and the stomach suck back in. And again, notice the light at the bottom of the exhale. Pause for as long as it's comfortable, and then repeat the cycle. Breathing in, breathing out. And just stepping back and watching your breath. So the breath is just happening to you, through you, and for you. There's no conscious straining, stressing, or striving. Completely the opposite of the ego's program. You just allow it to happen. And that takes you into this light, this carefree state where you're not having to try. All the efforting of the ego simply disappears when you watch your breath, because it just happens. And you need do nothing. So you can experience what Jesus is teaching in A Course in Miracles. You need do nothing. You are in the light. It's your God-given nature, your reality, and just have to get out the way, remove the blocks, and allow it to arise, sink into it, surrender to it. So just feel like you're doing that. You're really opening up your mind like an empty vessel to receive these powerful ideas that I'm going to share with you from section 8 of chapter 9, entitled Grandeur versus Grandiosity. So as you listen, just listen with your heart. Put one hand in your heart center, just to anchor this presence in. There's not much conscious thought going on, so just keep watching your breath to keep your mind in that nice, calm, empty, open, spacious but aware state. I'll remind you to do that every so often. And listen with your heart. So feel into these words. If you can really feel what Jesus is pointing to, the energy, the emotion, states of being, and you let that arise in you. And the intellectual understanding is secondary, superfluous almost. It will come of itself, because when you understand experientially, when you feel the love, peace, the joy that these words are pointing to, the grandeur of God that they're pointing to, then you get it, you understand much more deeply than any theologian who only seeks to understand intellectually. So just keep listening in this way, keep your hand on your heart center, keep breathing, watching your breath. Let's hear what Jesus has to say about this topic, grandeur versus grandiosity. So he starts off by saying that grandeur is of God. God is love, so you can use the terms interchangeably. It's an eternal, infinite loving presence. Think of it that way. You can think of the word love or God, whichever works better for you. Grandeur is of God or love, and only of Him, only of it. And therefore, it is in you. Whenever you become aware of it, however dimly, you abandon the ego automatically. Because in the presence of the grandeur of God, this infinite, eternal, loving presence, the meaninglessness of the ego becomes perfectly apparent. When this occurs, even though it does not understand it, the ego believes that its, quote, enemy has struck, and attempts to offer gifts to induce you to return to its protection. Quote again. Self-inflation is the only offering it can make. The grandiosity of the ego is its alternative to the grandeur of God. Grandeur of an eternal loving presence that is always there for you. So which will you choose? Asks Jesus. Just pause and reflect on that. So you keep watching your breath. Which will you choose? Grandeur of God, infinite, eternal, loving presence. Always there, comforting, just wanting to give you happiness, peace, love, joy, everything you truly desire. Or the ego, grandiosity of the ego, self-inflation, pride, arrogance, posturing, being an imposter in the world, trying to get some sense of worth from the external world, whether that's in possessions, achievements, your status in society, or how other people perceive you. All of this is what Jesus calls grandiosity, which is always a cover for despair, he says. It is without hope because it is not real. It is an attempt to counteract your littleness, based on the belief that the littleness is real. Without this belief, grandiosity is meaningless, and you could not possibly want it. The essence of grandiosity is competitiveness, because it always involves attack. It is a delusional attempt to outdo, but not to undo. We said before that the ego vacillates between suspiciousness and viciousness. It remains suspicious as long as you despair of yourself. It shifts to viciousness when you decide not to tolerate self-abasement and seek relief. And it offers you the illusion of attack as a, quote, solution. So just pause here, watch your breath. And just look within as you do this and notice that these observations from Jesus are true. The essence of grandiosity is competitiveness. It's trying to big yourself up. Often we think, we say people have a big ego. First quality that comes to mind is this grandiosity of the ego, trying to be bigger and better than everyone else, which is competitive by nature. And it always involves attack, because what you're really trying to do is attack others to diminish them so that you can big yourself up. It's based on the idea that you are more special than others. You want to be more special. Specialness is always of the ego. And the only relief it can offer you is attack. So its alternative to littleness, self-abasement, is grandiosity, which is a form of attack as a solution. The ego does not understand the difference between grandeur and grandiosity. Because it sees no difference between miracle impulses and ego-alien beliefs of its own. I told you that the ego is aware of threat to its existence, but makes no distinctions between these two very different kinds of threat. Its profound sense of vulnerability renders it incapable of judgment except in terms of attack. When the ego experiences threat, its only decision is whether to attack now or to withdraw to attack later. If you accept its offer of grandiosity, it will attack immediately. If you do not, it will wait. So pause here again, reflect on this. Whenever you accept grandiosity from the ego, you are accepting attack. You are attacking others through your grandiosity and therefore attacking yourself. Grandiosity is an attack on the grandeur of God that is within you. It is the ego's alternative to it. The ego is the attack on God, attack on love. The ego is immobilized in the presence of God's grandeur. Its loving presence completely immobilizes it because His grandeur of love, establishes your freedom. Even the faintest hint of your reality literally drives the ego from your mind, because you will give up all investment in it. Grandeur is totally without illusions. And because it is real, it is compellingly convincing. Yet the conviction of reality will not remain with you unless you do not allow the ego to attack it. The ego will make every effort to recover and mobilize its energies against your release. It will tell you that you are insane and argue that grandeur cannot be a real part of you because of the littleness in which it believes. Yet, your grandeur is not delusional because you did not make it. You made grandiosity and are afraid of it because it is a form of attack. But your grandeur is of God, who created it out of His love. Because God is love. So pause here, reconnect with your breath, just being aware of these nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breaths. And imagine you sinking a little bit deeper. It's going deeper and deeper with each breath into the love, into the light. It helps you can imagine sinking into this infinite light, beautiful golden or white light. It is everywhere, just like the loving presence in your heart is. Loving presence encompasses you, the light surrounds you, envelops you. This is the grandeur of God. This is the truth about you. Grandiosity, which is based on specialness, being a special person, individual identity, seemingly better than other people, fades away in the face of this glory. From your grandeur, you can only bless because your grandeur is your abundance. By blessing, you hold it in your mind. protecting it from illusions and keeping yourself in the mind of God, in the mind of love. Remember always that you cannot be anywhere except in the mind of God. When you forget this, you will despair and you will attack. Keep watching your breath and sinking deeper into the grandeur. Feel it, experience it in your heart, in your mind, all-encompassing, open, expansive, spacious. There's no limit to it. The specialness the ego can offer you, there's no match, no comparison really. Infinity and eternity and tiny little special identity made up by the ego simply cannot be compared. And why would you choose such littleness, even if it poses as grandiosity, when you can have this full grandeur? Experience that as your true reality. So Jesus continues to instruct us, helping us to make this choice. He says the ego depends solely on your willingness to tolerate it. If you are willing to look upon your grandeur, you cannot despair, and therefore you cannot want the ego. Your grandeur is God's answer, love's answer to the ego, because it is true. Littleness and grandeur cannot coexist, nor is it possible for them to alternate. Littleness and grandiosity can and must alternate, since both are untrue and are therefore on the same level. Being the level of shift, it is experienced as shifting, and extremes are its essential characteristic. Always shifting and changing. You'll notice that anyone who has a big ego in the grandiosity sense tries to puff themselves up by relying on externals, possessions, money, fame, status, and so on. They usually can easily be wounded. Their pride can be wounded, and they can shift between the extremes. They can shift between the extremes quite easily. Because the ego is the level of shift. It's the level of change. And shifting and changing and extremes are its essential characteristic. So truth and littleness are denials of each other, because grandeur is truth. Truth does not vacillate, it is always true. When grandeur slips away from you, you have replaced it with something you have made. Perhaps it is the belief in littleness. Perhaps it is the belief in grandiosity. Yet it must be insane, because it is not true. Your grandeur will never deceive you, but your illusions always will. Illusions are deceptions, self-deceptions. Grandiosity is a massive self-deception. You cannot triumph over another, but you are exalted. And in your exalted state, you seek others like you. and rejoice with them. So just pause there. Feel that exaltation, exalted state, grandeur. Breathe it in to every pore, every cell of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is exalted. You're in the light. Imagine you breathing in this beautiful golden or white light. And in this high state of mind, listen to these words because they will help you to go deeper into the grandeur that Jesus is pointing to with his words. So it is easy to distinguish grandeur from grandiosity because love is returned and pride is not. Pride will not produce miracles and will therefore deprive you of the true witnesses to your reality. Truth is not obscure nor hidden, but its obviousness to you lies in the joy you bring to its witnesses who show it to you. They attest to your grandeur. They cannot attest to pride because pride is not shared. God wants you to behold what he created because it is his joy. Love wants you to behold what it created because it's love's joy for you to do that. So as you exhale, just have a sense of extending this grandeur you feel inside outwards. You're extending the love and the light to all your brothers and sisters because they are also in the grandeur of God. They have this too. We are all equal in grandeur. Only grandiosity and littleness seek to separate us, divide us. And feel the joy of that we are one in this splendid reality that God or love has created for us. Can your grandeur be arrogant when God himself, love itself, witnesses to it? And what can be real that has no witnesses? What good can come of it? And if no good can come of it, the Holy Spirit cannot use it. What he cannot transform to the will of God, the will of love, does not exist at all. Grandiosity is delusional because it is used to replace your grandeur. Yet what God or love has created cannot be replaced. God is incomplete without you. Love is incomplete without you because its grandeur is total and you cannot be missing from it. So pause there and just smile at that thought. You can never lose this. Grandeur of God cannot be replaced. It is always available to you right here, right now. You are complete and whole because of it. You are altogether irreplaceable in the mind of God, in this loving mind. Irreplaceable. No one else can fill your part in it. And while you leave your part of it empty, your eternal place merely waits for your return. God, love, through its voice, reminds you of it. And God himself, love itself, keeps your extensions safe within it. Extensions of love, peace, and joy, the radiating outwards of these thoughts, emotions, states of mind are your extensions. Yet you do not know them until you return to them. You cannot replace the kingdom, and you cannot replace yourself. God, or love who knows your value would not have it so. And so it is not so. Thank God for that. All of your delusional attempts to replace the grandeur of God with littleness and grandiosity are irrelevant, non-existent. Your value is in God's mind, love's mind, and therefore not in yours alone. To accept yourself as God or love created you cannot be arrogance, because it is the denial of arrogance. To accept your littleness is arrogant, because it means that you believe your evaluation of yourself is truer than God's, truer than love's. So just reflect on that briefly. This is the authority problem. We believe that our own evaluation of ourselves, whether we believe we're little, we're a victim, we're hardly done by, or we're grandiose, we're very special, we're amazing in worldly terms, we have these special qualities that make us somehow superior to others. This is the essence of pride and arrogance. All of this is delusional self-evaluation. It's all false. It cannot be truer than God's or love's evaluation of us, which is grandeur only. As Jesus says, yet if truth is indivisible, your evaluation of yourself must be God's, must be love's. You did not establish your value, and it needs no defense. Nothing can attack it nor prevail over it. It does not vary, it merely is. Ask the Holy Spirit what it is, and he will tell you. But do not be afraid of his answer, because it comes from God, from love. It is an exalted answer because of its source. But the source is true, and so is its answer. Listen and do not question what you hear. For God or love does not deceive. He would have you replace the ego's belief in littleness with his own exalted answer to what you are, so that you can cease to question it and know it for what it is. And so, to close this meditation, just sink in for a couple of minutes into the exalted answer, so that you can cease to question and know it for what it is. Just watch your breath. Put all your attention on your breath. Keep your mind empty, clear. Because when you do that, this grandeur will arise naturally. Have a sense of rising up into it or sinking into it, whichever works for you. It's a feeling of just surrendering all of your defenses, all the littleness and the grandiosity stop you from experiencing this grandeur. Sink into the grandeur, into the splendor of the loving mind of God. That is your mind. Your awareness is God's awareness. There is only one mind, only one awareness. That's the grandeur that is shared with all of your brothers and sisters. So just open up to that, sink into that, into the light, into this infinite loving presence. Watch your breath. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. The next 2 minutes, just breathe, relax, and be in the grandeur of God or love. And if you notice any ego thoughts intruding, thoughts of littleness, grandiosity, about your special self, just notice those from this pure witness that is the Holy Spirit. You smile, just laugh at these idle thoughts. And imagine you blowing them away as you exhale with the breeze of your breath. And dark clouds have no power to obscure the light of salvation. Say to yourself, only God's plan, love's plan for salvation will work. Love's plan is simply that you merge with it, you experience it fully. So give yourself the gift of another minute of silence to do that. Sink into the grandeur, experience it, feel it fully, encompassing you, holding you, radiating in and through you. Smile. Experience the exaltation, the grandeur of this loving presence we call God for the next minute of silence. And so just gently coming back to an awareness of your body, of the breath. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just noticing the stomach rise, the chest rise, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale, smile. And notice the grandeur, the love, the light. Whatever word you want to use to point to it is still very much there. You're established in it, and you will remain so for the rest of the session. It's just the underlying awareness guides your thoughts, your feelings, your words, your actions. So it is said, so it is done. You exhale, sigh it all out, make a little sighing sound in the back of your throat, let the air flow out of your nostrils, chest and the stomach suck back in gently. As you subsides back down the front channel of your body into your lower stomach and your groin. And just smile there. Feel this grandeur still very much there in your heart and your mind. So 2, on the count of 2, just noticing the weight of your body, pressing down into the chair, wherever you're sitting, feet touching the ground. Feel what you're touching and feeling with your hands. Maybe there's a subtle flow of air on your skin. Just noticing all these present moment sensations. You're coming back into sensory awareness, but in a very present way. And you're not interpreting or naming, judging, labeling anything. Just allow the sense perceptions to be there, to arise, to subside, without all the mental activity that the ego loves you to indulge in about them. So breathe in again. Notice stomach rise, chest rise. Maybe there's a subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Notice how it smells. Any taste in your mouth. Notice what you're hearing, the surrounding environment, and just allow whatever the sounds are to be. You can hear dogs barking in the background. And that's all fine. Just allow the sound to be there. It arises and then it subsides. And if there's no resistance to it, there's no judgment of it as good or bad, or this shouldn't be happening, then you can remain in the same state, very peaceful, very calm, very present. This is what you're training your mind to do by these little mind training exercises. Non-judgment, non-judgmental perception is the gateway to the kingdom of heaven, to the grandeur of God. And so 3, open your eyes and just practice this for a minute with whatever you see. So looking around, just allowing your mind perception to rest on whatever it is you happen to see for a few seconds. Don't name it, don't label it, don't interpret it, don't think about it in any way. Notice how you feel and then move on, do the same thing for another object. And if you're doing the exercise correctly, you'll notice that the underlying feeling is the same. There is no difference between looking at a couch, for instance, or a fridge, or a cup, or a wall, or a hand, or a body. The underlying awareness is the same. This is your true awareness, beyond form, beyond name, beyond judgment. This is what Jesus is trying to train your mind to perceive. This is the enlightened state of being. Samadhi, they call it, the Eastern teaching in the yogic tradition. A sameness of perception. You see only the oneness, only the love, only the grandeur of God in everything. And you are unaffected by the seeming shifts and changes and vacillations that the ego has created in this world, or miscreated in this world. And this is God's plan for your salvation. Love's plan for your salvation. Only this will work. Nothing else will work. So remind yourself of that one more time. So that brings us to the end of the meditation. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to stop my share and ask you to unmute. So hope you enjoyed that. Still with us, Sue? Still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Good, good. Sort of.
Yeah,
Hopefully in an exalted state.
I am. That was really lovely. Really enjoyed
Yeah.
it.
Thank you. Yeah, I can see.
And it just felt so true.
You
You argue with it.
That is the thing, Jesus, you can't really argue any arguments. And what he's seeking to do with, all this teaching is just demolish all of your arguments. Karen's coming in on a computer, I think. So that's really, that's why we have all the text and all the words, and because he knows, look, you've got all these blocks, you've got all these arguments, and I've just got to demolish them because they're not really serving you. And I've just got to point out the absolute logic of the Holy Spirit and the total insanity of the ego. And that's what he's doing over and over. So, did you find that doing it in a meditation helped you? I mean, I don't know how long you studied the course for, but presumably a while. You're part of the Miracles Network. Did you find that it gives you a different experience
Definitely.
of of that? I don't know that particular section, but any section of the text or the workbook.
Well, I've never got to grips with the text, actually. I've only
Okay.
ever done the workbook.
Right. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so I find the text really difficult to read, but having it as a meditation like that, with you were reading it really slowly and with pauses,
Yeah.
really helped me to get it, to hear
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, that's the idea. Is when you go into a different state, an altered state, that's what meditation is. You're more open, and often reading yourself, you're still in that same state of mind, the ego state of mind. It's like conscious, intellectual. An intellectual understanding won't get you very far with the course, to be honest.
No.
So it's a starting point. But I mean, the lady who scribed it, Helen Schuckman, by her own admission, was an intellectual, and she never got it. Also by an own admission, I said, I don't believe in my own life's work. This ridiculous position where I can't really accept this teaching, although I know it's my life's work and it's important. I can't really accept it because maybe she wasn't practicing meditation. She wasn't like going into these deeper states where you can now start to feel it and experience what he's talking about. If you experience the love, the peace, the joy, the exaltation, the grandeur he's talking about, these are all just pointers. They're words that point you to an inner state, which really is an experience. You can't really have that if you're just trying to understand this intellectually. Oh, yeah, the grandeur of God. Yeah, that sounds good. What does it mean? It's meaningless if you can't experience what he's talking about.
Yeah. And then my ego mind says, "Oh, I can't understand it," and then just.
Yeah, well, it's got all this resistance to the truth. So, what meditation does is it helps you to get past that resistance because you're in a deeper state. So you're in a quieter state. Your mind's more receptive, and then the words can filter in. It's an energy transmission, really. I'm just using my voice, with the Holy Spirit's using my voice to transmit this into your mind via Zoom. I mean, it's quite amazing, really, what's happening. It's like an energy transmission from the divine, from this, amazing spirit, Jesus, call it whatever you want. This, this highest awareness of truth coming via this little vehicle of a body, voice, being transmitted through this technology all the way across the world to into your mind. It's quite extraordinary. That's pretty miraculous, actually, when you think about what's happening. And that's part of the grandeur. It's like God wants you to listen. God wants you to hear, and this presence will find a way to get into your mind. However that works in this time-space construct. It's going to use the voice. It's going to use technology. It's going to use whatever to come into your mind and open up your mind. Say, okay, here's the truth, and just feel this and experience this. So thank you for sharing that. And you're most welcome. I do daily sessions at the same time. 1:30 this time, 12:30 your time. Not generally as long as that day. The afternoon sessions are about 20 minutes, so you're welcome to join. They're free, open community sessions. So if you want to join the community, the Art of Letting Go course is the start of that. Then you can get 2 of these a day. There's an evening meditation as well where we do the text. So if you want to like dive into the text, I'm working through the entire text, meditation by meditation. So we're on end of chapter 9. So we're on chapter 10. There's still 21 chapters to go. So
okay.
Quite a lot to do, and I'm doing all the recordings. So the idea is to make all these recordings available as well in time to come.
So everything done so far is on YouTube, is it?
This one will be on YouTube, yeah. I don't post all of them to YouTube, but the weekly ones I post on YouTube. So I'll I'll send you the details afterwards. I don't have your mobile number, so what I tend to do is communicate on WhatsApp more than email, like for the daily sessions and stuff. So if you'd like to be notified about those, just send me your mobile number, put it in the chat, or email it to me, and I'll add you to that. So because the times can change sometimes. Sometimes we do it 12:30, sometimes 1:30 p.m. UK time. So. And I can, I'll let you know every day, and you'll get an inspirational quote, and then a lesson. There it is. Thanks. You'll get an inspirational quote and a lesson.
Okay.
From me every workbook lesson every day with some visuals and a little bit of commentary and a breath break. It's a little mini meditation based on the lesson. So there's some practice you can do with that, with that lesson. And then I'll tell you about what's happening that day in terms of a live session as well. So thanks for sharing that. Okay, so what we generally do now is what is called an expression session. I picked this up from the Living Miracles community. That's David Hoffmeister's organization. So you might be familiar with him and his teaching. He came out here about 7 years ago now. Wow, it's 6 years, just over 6 years. And I did a retreat, and what we do in the mornings was this expression sessions. You get into a group, there'd be one of the messengers of peace, as they were called, would facilitate, and everyone just have a chance to express whatever's on their mind. So you don't have to go into massive detail, but you can just really start expressing your thoughts and feelings. What are you feeling right now? You can share any details. Just bear in mind it is recorded, so if you don't want to share the details, don't. But just express, what's on your heart, and then everyone else is just quiet. So like no one's commenting. You just have a chance to express, and then maybe afterwards, if some issues come up, some themes, that can be a topic for discussion, or not. Sometimes we just leave it, and it's just it's a way of really expressing these things out. That can be quite cathartic, part of the healing process, and then it can lead to discussion, and we just sort of let the Holy Spirit guide it. So that's how we do it, and that only lasts 5 or 10 minutes, and then we move into a discussion, which whatever's arising. If you've got questions, we can talk about that. There's a parable I wanted to share, talk about that from a course perspective. So who would like to go first? There's only 2 of you. So Karen, you want to kick us off? Show Sue how it's done?
No, I think you should.
No, I think you should this time.
Well, I guess my expression session starts with I'm not sure I'm good at expressing myself correctly due to a number of things that have happened in the last few days and weeks. I am very good at it, at getting how other people feel and what they want and what they need, and trying to just click there. Yeah, trying to, I guess, get inside their heads, and I always just say I'm fine for most of the time. But I've realized I'm notoriously really bad at expressing myself on a deep level. So I did have an experience where I joined a online circle it's called Women Within. But this is only the 3rd one, because they have it now once a month. So the last one was on the 31st of March. And there was a place where I felt comfortable for the first time in a while, I guess. And I often, when it comes to the expression session, do exactly what I did 2 minutes ago and say, no, someone else should go first. So I
didn't let you get away with today.
No, you didn't let me get away with it today. So maybe that's some food for thought, and maybe part of the discussion. If anyone's able to give me some pointers, I'm open to learning.
Okay,
The
excellent.
parable was very profound yesterday, and I guess that's also, what made me really think about it, because the way it tells the story, you don't really, there's something coming, but you don't really see what the gist of it is. Your ego is thinking this, and then your conscious mind is thinking that, and then when it came to it, it was really profound. And I thought to myself, in a way, I live all four of those personas, keeping most of them to myself. So nice to meet you, Sue. It's your turn now.
God's done it. That's like the hard part of the session for you, isn't it?
That's my hard part done. I'm finished now. So
Yeah.
that was my dry sense of humor out.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for expressing that and being honest, because it's about being honest, isn't it, really? So, well done.
Thank you.
Sue, what's on your mind?
Well, I'd like to say thank you to Karen for sharing that, and I totally resonate with what you're saying. Me as well. What I'd like to share is that I've had a lot of health issues in the last 3 months that have just come out of nowhere and have really shaken me. And I've just been feeling it's so unfair. Everything just feels so unfair, and I've kind of I feel like I lost my spiritual way. I felt like I'd lost myself, really. And anyway, I was talking to Teresa from the Miracle Network, and she reminded me about the Wednesday meditations that I'd completely forgotten about, where you were speaking, Jonathan. And so I came onto that, and then I wanted to come to your masterclass, and everything seems to be fitting into place now, and I feel as though I'm getting the guidance that I hadn't really asked for properly. I was just in this deep mire of feeling sorry for myself. I'm feeling a lot brighter about everything now. And I really enjoyed that passage that you just read to us, because it's made a whole lot of sense to me. About being in my ego mind and feeling the littleness and the hard done by-ness. And I am beginning to feel now the grandeur of spirit and love and beauty and nature, and feeling actually gratitude for the hospital and the doctors and nurses for finding these things that were wrong with me, whereas I was fighting them before, saying, why did you find these things and have this happen to me? But now I'm really grateful. So I feel like I'm at a real turning point and getting onto the right path. Last, I'm finding the help that I didn't even know I needed. So it's just amazing, really.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Anything else to share?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so my turn. So the last week or two has been some shifting, some changing, as things do, but I'm moving on from this current physical place I'm in. There's an incident that came up about 10 days ago. I'm living in a cottage attached to my sister's house, and we had somewhat of an argument, and I really reflected on that, because conflict isn't of God, although she was being pretty egoic. I really asked if I reacted wrongly, and was too reactive. Because I basically took a stand. I said, "This is crazy. This belief system that you're trying to impose on the situation on me is crazy," and I wouldn't just back down. So that led to a blow up, and I said, "Okay, I'm leaving." And so I really reflected on, like, well, how could I have handled that better? And part of me was like, well, maybe I should have just kept the peace and just agreed with her. And I asked for guidance from the spirit. And within a day or two, I got sent a recording. I posted something on LinkedIn, and an old friend who I haven't seen for years posted something. It's a half-hour recording, a reflection also on a parable, actually, which was on the parable of the rock. The man who's built his house on the rock and on the sand. And he posted that, and I listened to it, and in it, my answer was there. So this is how the guidance works. It was like, it's not right, he said, to allow someone else to impose their will on you, and to just agree with that, to keep the peace. That's not spiritually correct or right. So I felt okay. I had actually done the right thing, although it led to a conflict, which wasn't very pleasant. It's that's sometimes necessary, and it was necessary to move me on. I need to move on from this place. It's been nearly a year now, and Spirit's saying, right, there's something else that you need to go and do and experience. So it also prompted me to book myself in for a course, meditation course called Vipassana, a Buddhist meditation technique, which I've known about for years, and it's been something that's been in the back of my mind. Yeah, maybe one day I'll do that. And then something in me just said, okay, well, again, just, sort of fairly random. I was sending out an email, and I mentioned Vipassana, so I just Googled it to look at what the true meaning of the word was, and then I saw this linked. There's a center in South Africa in the Cape. So I thought, okay, I've heard about it, but I've never actually checked it out. So I went and checked out what the courses they run, and something in me just said, you need to do this. And now you've given notice. So before, it's funny how Spirit works, because it doesn't work on a timeline, does it? So before I needed to do I knew what I needed to do. It had already said, right, give your notice, and orchestrated that, and then within a few days of that, I'd booked the course, and so I just feel that's like the next step for me. And also there was a real call to nurture myself as well. I've spent a lot of time over the last couple of years putting together this course that I talked about on Thursday, the Art of Letting Go course. And the program is a 1-year program where we work through the entire Course in Miracles day by day. Corin's doing that in meditation. So there's a lot of emails and meditations, and I've spent an enormous amount of time on that. And there was just a sort of a call to go within, nurture myself, sharpen the saw, as Stephen Covey calls it. Go within and do that. Take 10 days out. So 10-day like incommunicado retreat. No cell phones, no communication, no writing, no distractions. You just meditate for 12 hours a day. And you can't even speak to the other participants. You can speak to the teachers, but there's very little communication. So it's really an inward journey. And in the Art of Letting Go masterclass, I talked about Jesus's start. He went on this 40-day journey, and he just went, right, I'm going into the desert, into the wilderness, and I'm just going to meditate. I'm just going to sit there and be with myself and face the ego. And it's recorded what happened. He faced the the things that were mentioned in today's passage. The grandiosity of the ego was one of it. The ego said, well, I'll raise you up, go. I took him to the highest mountain, obviously in his mind, and said, I'll give you the entire world. That's the grandiosity of the world, of the ego, isn't it? And he overcame it. Said, no, I want to let go of that and just do the will of God. And after that deep experience of meditation and prayer, he came out and he started his ministry that prepared him for his work in the world, which was to express this, was to allow that spirit to come through him and just channel through him, which he did, extremely well. And that was his mission. And as a result, we're now studying his teachings and his words, and coming to that own awareness ourselves. So it's been interesting and valuable. It's a bit of a shake-up, and also a recognition that sometimes conflict is part of the journey. It's necessary to shake you out of whatever state you're in, and it's okay as long as you don't hold a resentment or a grievance. So there's been a lot of forgiveness to do on that particular special relationship, because it's a lifelong. She's my sister. It's a lifelong relationship, which has also been good to actually this character, this persona, this person is not really who she is. So we may disagree on the level of form. She's not on this path at all. We may disagree on the level of form, but underneath that, she's still the Christ. And just to recognize that, even though on the level of form, well, it hasn't really been any true reconciliation. She won't apologize. But it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to apply the principle and forgive myself and recognize that it's all part of my journey. That maybe that was necessary to move me on to do this course. I have a little gap in my life now. I'm trying to get back to the UK, but that's not happening. So I've surrendered to it. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna, right now. That's not happening. So what, maybe there's something else I need to do while I'm still inside. So it's this, I guess, a deeper level of surrender for me. I'm just going to listen to the guidance, follow it, and I don't really know what's happening beyond a month away, which is not a bad thing, I guess. Just, moment by moment, be guided, and also traveling is going out of a security of a physical environment where everything's like going to be the same. It's going to be the same. I think Spirit's going, okay, it's time to go on the road a bit and have some other experiences. Which, listening to David Hofmeister, he talks about his experience. He went on the road for 5 years when he was in his early 30s. He studied the course for 5 years, like 8 hours a day, and then Jesus said, right, I'm taking you out on the road, and you're just going to go, and there's no plan. I'll show you the way day by day. You're gonna meet whoever. And he said, just amazing, this miraculous flow just guided him, and he met people, and they'd put him up, and they'd give him food and shelter, and the money he needed for his his basic expenses and his gas, as they call it in the US, just came. And he said it was great mind training, because it was just surrendering and letting go to the Spirit and allowing the miracle to happen, to unfold. So I feel like that's a little bit of that maybe coming up for me over the next couple of months, and then we'll see Maybe I'll be back in the UK. Maybe I won't. I have a biological, not a biological family, a son and a wife. I've been separated from for over 2 years, and I guess that's also my forgiveness. So okay, well, it hasn't. I can't be with them physically now, but then true joining is not physical, is it? So it's just learning to find the joining in the spirit, irrespective of what's happening on the physical level. So that's me, I think. Sorry, that was quite a long expression, but thank you for listening. So yeah, just some topics that arose there for discussion. I mean, I'll open it up. Anyone want to discuss anything in particular? Karen, you mentioned the expression side of it. Shall we go into that? Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question. Why do you think it's difficult for you to express?
Well, the only reason I have the answer is because I've been doing some work on it, and I guess it's it's how I grew up. So old-fashioned, very rigid father. Children should be seen and not heard. Emotions are bad things. Suck it up and deal with it. Put it in a box. Close the cupboard door. That kind of stuff. So that's how I guess I've always learned to be, and rather trying to take care of others or just brush it under the carpet than try to acknowledge things for myself and even more so express things for myself. So I find it very, very difficult. I find it very uncomfortable. I find even on things that are maybe well-known topics for me, like with my own business, or before when I was corporately employed, I could talk quite easily. But when it comes to more deeper things, I can even now feel my mouth is dry, and
I can see. Yeah, just breathe. Just breathe.
With people on a course that I've been destined to do my whole life, and I'm still awkward. So that's what I think.
Well, it's normal. You've got to understand if these are deep-seated patterns coming from childhood, and who knows how many lifetimes. That's a program. It's a program that's deep-seated in your psyche. It's the ego's program. It's a program of not wanting to express your truth, to bottle it all up, repress it, suppress it, not be authentic, not really listen to your true voice, your spirit, and allow that to express freely through you. So Jesus teaches over and over in the course. This is in the expression of it, in the extension of it, the giving of this, you receive it. If you bottle it up and you stop that flow, then you stop yourself from really accessing your own spirit. And that's probably what you've been doing for your entire life. It's an unconscious conditioned pattern of thoughts and behavior, also known as the ego. And it's going to take some undoing. It's not just going to happen straight away. That's why we have a process. Jesus understands that. He's saying, look, I'll guide you just step by step, using this course that I've given you to just help you unwind all of this, slowly but surely. And that process may take years. Realistically, you can't expect to unwind what you've wound yourself up to in 40 odd years and unwind it in a day. It's just probably not going to happen. But you may be able to unwind it in a year or 2 or even 5 or 10. I mean, ultimately, what's the years? It doesn't matter how long it takes. That's your purpose in life. It's the healing. What else is there to do in your life but to do that? So you've got the rest of your life to dedicate to this. Okay, I'm going to unwind this, and I'm going to allow myself to be used as a channel for expression. So not to bottle it up and repress it, and just really allow that. And it's interesting because in your business, that's what you're doing. You're being asked to express, aren't you? And teach and be a voice. literally. So it's all good. It's, that's then the spirit will just use whatever form in your life, in this case your business, and your role in that business, and it'll use that to help you to learn that lesson of, okay, I'm here to express and not suppress it and block it all up, and just allow myself to be a channel for this. And when you do, it's amazing. I mean, I can speak from personal experience, because I just get used as a channel. It just comes through me. I'm just, don't ask me how I do it. I speak for like 3 hours, and it's just flowing through, and it just happens. Because you don't get in the way, you don't block it and stop it. And so it will, if you just allow it. And the more you do this work, so the meditations, and you're doing the Art of Letting Go course, and you've done the course and the daily program. Yeah, that's just going to help you, unblock more and more. So you just keep going. Okay, I'm willing to do this every day. I'm showing up. I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to let go a little bit more today, to let go of more blocks, and embrace the opportunities for expression. So if you get an opportunity to express, take it. That could be speaking to a client. It could be public speaking. I mentioned, doing webinars. Embrace it, because that's what you need to learn. Is that, that expression, and not stopping that. And that will be your own healing. That will help you to allow the spirit to flow very freely through you. And, it's like anything. The more you do it, the more comfortable you become doing it. You don't get good at doing something by just doing it once or twice. You do it over and over and over again until it's just, second nature. I mean, you use an example of David Hoffmeister. He said he was very shy. He was the shyest person in his class at school. He didn't want to speak. Expression was not his thing. And then Jesus said to him, right, and he didn't like traveling either. So he doesn't like travel, and he doesn't like expressing. And then Jesus said, no, we're going on the road. You're going to travel, like not just some, all day, like every day, you're going to be on the road pretty much. And you're going to express. You're going to just be speaking all the time. And 30 odd years later, look at where he is. Look at what he's doing. He's expressing all the time. That's what he does. David just speaks, and it just comes through him, and he can speak for hours and hours. And there's no hindrance. He's just allowed himself to be a clear channel. But initially, it wasn't comfortable for him. It wasn't easy. He had to go through that same resistance and the awkwardness you described, and the difficulties. And he just persisted. He said, okay, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna let go, and I'm gonna allow the spirit to guide me. And then you let go of all the personality limitations, don't you? Because that's what's blocking you. It's that persona of Karen. Okay, well, no, I'm not comfortable with this, because I don't do this. Well, who's the I that doesn't do this? That doesn't want to do this? That's really what you've always got to ask the question. Okay, so who's the I? Well, that I it's just a little self. That's all it is. It's a little self that wants you to limit yourself. And then on the flip side of that, as Jesus taught in this section we read, the grandiosity of it. Like the great I am, and then you try and project that out, like to cover over the littleness. But none of that's authentic expression of the spirit. Authentic expression is just being, okay, I'm just going to be used. There's no sense of a personal self doing it, and there's no personal investment in it. That's really the key. No personal investment. Because if I'm personally invested, then I want to get something out of this. I want this to somehow big me up, make me feel better about myself, puff me up. That's the grandiosity, the pride of the ego, or somehow protect myself, avoid being exposed. So if you feel like you're not enough, that you're little, and you're somehow a victim, then you go, oh no, can't go into the limelight. I can't express because it might expose me. So that's the flip side of it. But as you said, that's just the vacillation, the littleness or the grandiosity. It's really the same thing. Both of these are untrue.
What was interesting was that the promo that I had yesterday, I invited 2 people that, well, my business partner was one of them, and then the other one was a brand ambassador. And one by one, they said they couldn't help me. And I dread doing these promos because there's no one there to help me set up or stand there the whole day. And I thought, well, I'll go for maybe 2.5 hours. And I went there. The lady in the store was somebody who I didn't know. I'd met her once or twice before. And after about 4 hours, she looked at me and she said, you know, Karen, I've not been watching you from a judgment point of view. I've been watching you and admiring you. You have stood here and you've said everything with passion for the love of the consumer that walks into the store. And she says, not one person said to you, no, I'm not interested in your gut health product, or no, I'm not interested in your skin product, whatever. She said, not one person actually walked away. And when you asked them if they wanted more information, every single person gave you their number. And I was just like, and I was just being me. I had no fancy tools. I had no agenda. I just went and I just did it. As you were talking, I was just thinking about how bizarre that was, because I still, for the first approximately hour, was like a little shy approaching people. I was still very respectful because it's the shop, and I would only go up to them after the transaction was finished, even though I might have got another product sold if I hadn't, because people once had paid. But that wasn't my objective. My objective was to educate people. And I just sat back and waited. And when the time was right, when it felt right, hi, could I please introduce you to this product? Or, would you like to know more?
Great. So there's a great example. The Spirit's using the business and the form of it. Okay, you've got a business and you've got products to sell, but that's not really the real thing, is it? The real purpose is, okay, you're going to learn to express truly and get over that awkwardness and that shyness. And the more you do that, the more you can be used as a channel. And then once you've learned the basic lessons, the Spirit might go, okay, well now we're going somewhere else. Now it's public speaking then, because that's what it'll do. But it's just like little baby steps. So it's all perfect, and you just kind of go with it. If you get these opportunities to do promotions, especially when it makes you feel uncomfortable, then just push into that, because that's the way you grow. You don't grow by going, I'm going to respect the limitations the ego is trying to impose on me in the situation. You grow when you go into the discomfort, into the beyond the comfort zone. That's when you start to really undo the ego. And the beauty of a business, be running yourself, which you pretty much are. You've got a partner, but you're the face of the business. Is you're going to be called upon to do that over and over, because who else is going to do it? No one else is going to do it. So you're going to get all the lessons you need through that particular form in your life. I'll share an experience I had, because it might give you a bit of encouragement, or just reference someone else's experience. So a few years ago, I was in the UK, and I needed to do something else. I'd been trying to get a corporate finance business going, and it just really wasn't happening. So I needed to do something else. It was either go and get a job. I've never actually had one of those, so that wasn't really first uppermost of mine. I did sort of look, but in the process of looking, I came across a company in the merchant services industry. They're called Payment Sense. And they said, they phoned me. I submitted something online. They phoned me. They said, look, we're doing a training course starting next week. And this is what it involves. It's selling merchant services. I didn't know anything about merchant services, but it was sort of in the financial industry. And I thought, well, it'll get me out of the house, and it'll get me meeting people and connecting with people, small businesses, and who knows what opportunities will come. So, hey, why not? So I just went with it. And I remember, during the training, they were talking about what you had to do, which was basically cold call on businesses. You had to go and knock on doors. So the best way of doing this is you just walk down the high street and you walk in and you introduce yourself and you say, hi, I'm here to help you do blah, blah, blah. I'm here to help you save money. And I remember feeling quite nervous about this. Okay, there's definitely a bit of fear there. But fortunately, I've always trained myself, and with the course's teachings, to go into that instead of going, oh, that's fearful. Like if there's something there, like, okay, yeah, then I must do this, because there's actually a personal growth. There's something that I need to learn here. And so I remember the first couple of days, it's like walking down the high street going, oh my God, what am I doing here? And why am I doing this? And you guys are going like, why? You're like, you can, I don't know, all kinds of, but I just went, no, this is what you got to do. And the worst that can happen is you get a no. Someone says no. And yeah, sure, that happens. But you're never going to get a yes unless you get a no. So I just started doing it. I took a deep breath in, started doing it. And by, about a week or two into it, I was totally comfortable. I was like, okay, this is really it's not an issue. I can do this. And so I could walk in anyway, just introduce myself, start a conversation, and it started working. I started getting sales and deals, and it established a business for me. I've still got that business, and I'm able to do it from here, even though I'm not in the UK, which is quite helpful. So just by overcoming that fear, it's opened up an opportunity, and more importantly, I expanded. I grew as a person. There's no doubt. Like as a person, as a teacher, if you can't overcome your own fears, then don't teach this stuff. It's like you've got to walk the talk. So that's just my personal story. But just remember that whenever you feel nervous, you go like, oh, shouldn't I approach that person, or shouldn't I go in and speak to that shop owner? Just do it. There's that beautiful Nike slogan, just do it. It's actually so simple, 3 words. But it's very profound, because it's just being in the moment. When you just do it, you just overcome all your obstacles, your fears, and you just do it anyway. And in the doing of it, the fear dissipates, and you find that actually you now have just expanded your comfort zone just by doing it a few times. You expand your comfort zone massively, and suddenly what was very uncomfortable and awkward is now comfortable, and you can do it. And now you've just grown. And from a business point of view, that's going to grow your sales. It's going to grow your sales. It's going to grow your business, because as I said, before, entrepreneurship is a spiritual path. It's a path of overcoming your fear, isn't it? That's what you have to do over and over, and you're challenged to do that. So just embrace it and go with it. And in each moment, you just make these little choices. You go, okay, I'm gonna let go of the fear. Take a deep breath in, use some mind training, and then just go and do it. And you'll get very comfortable at doing it the more you do that, and you won't look back. And that will that will lead to miraculous results, connections, synchronicities. Like that woman noticed. She's like, I see your passion. She saw the spirit coming through you. So now that person is going to want to do business with you, aren't they? Because they buy your energy. That's what they're really buying. They're not buying your products as much as your energy that you infuse. The product is a carrier for your energy. That's the truth of the matter, isn't it?
It was classic. While we were in the middle of the day, the owner rocked up like unannounced to come and fetch something that he left there. He's normally not in on the weekends at all. And he walked in, and I said, are you happy with the way I've set everything up? Is there anything you want me to change? And he said, no, it's fine. So he started like, he always teases me. I've known him for years, and he's just one of those cheeky old men. And so he started. Okay. So I said to him, come, just taste the nuclear beauty. And he tasted it. And when he walked in, the lady behind the counter had said, you're looking not so well. You're looking a bit grey. Are you okay? You should go home and rest. Just then when he tasted it, he said, oh, it's nice. I said, and you're even looking better. And he laughed. He said, that's a persistent little salesperson, or not a little salesperson. That's a persistent salesperson there. I said, that I am.
Yeah.
He had a fat smile on his face when he left, because I mean, people say, Karen, you can talk to anybody, and then I doubt myself, and then I get shy. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, just get over yourself and actually just be yourself, and you'll do it, and you'll make somebody smile and enjoy their day.
Yes, exactly. And actually, in that masterclass, you were there, Sue. So a lady called Melanie shared something afterwards, which was really interesting, and I really appreciate it. So she said, I felt, because obviously I was at the end of it, I was selling the course. I'm saying, look, I'm giving you an offer, do the course. This is why you should do the course. And she said, oh, she felt some resistance coming up to this because it's like all the salesmanship. And but to her credit, she said, well, I knew it was my stuff, and there's something I needed to let go of. And then she actually said, well, I congratulate you for doing it, and like actually putting that out there and having the gumption, the courage, whatever, to just sell it. Because if you don't sell it, no one's going to do it. And if they don't do it, they're not going to get the benefit of it. So it actually becomes your responsibility. If you know this is really going to help the person, it becomes your divine responsibility to sell it to them, doesn't it? To persuade them to do it, because it's going to benefit them. So, and that's really, if you look at the deeper meaning of the word sell, it comes from the Latin word servire, or servire, I think. It's been a long time since I did Latin. Servire, I think it is, which means to serve. So, truly, if you're selling, you should be serving. You should be like, how can I really serve this person? And you can only serve them if they buy or accept your product or service. Otherwise, there's no service. They've refused it. So then it becomes your job to serve them, and the sales process is part of that. You just have to make sure you're doing it through the right voice, because the ego can hijack all of that, of course, and it can say, oh, now this is all about the money, and it's about your commissions, and it's about how many sales you can get, and the great salesperson. That's the grandiosity then taking over, isn't it? Oh, I'm bigging myself up, and I'm the great salesperson, and it's all about how many sales I get and the commission, and you start focusing on the end result and on the achievement and the status and the money and whatever, rather than on actually this is about genuinely serving this person individually, one by one. In the end, that's all it is. You're connecting with a person, an individual, and you can serve them. You can help them through your product or service. And if you're doing it, I'm sorry.
What you said there is just even more profound, because I actually said to Bruce, although we only sold one set, which was 2 units through the store, I said to him, I think I didn't say it in the words that you did, like I put my ego aside, but now that you were explaining it, I said to him yesterday after the promo that I was consciously trying to not come across as if I was trying to sell something to people. And I think it worked. I wasn't saying, oh, it's only this or it's only that. I looked at them in the eye. I asked them a few key questions, like what are their concerns, etc., explained things to them, explained the science, and said, and if and when you're ready, this is where you come and get the product. And that was it.
So they can buy it in the store.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, which I'm sure some people will. But what you do is you let go of the outcome. That's the key.
Sure.
So it's this paradoxical, like, okay, to be a great salesman or salesperson, you need to actually let go of the outcome and go, actually, if people buy or they don't buy, doesn't matter, because I'm just doing what I'm doing. I'm serving them, and you just let the outcome take care of itself. As soon as you become outcome oriented, which unfortunately is often the case. It's actually the reason why I left that company I mentioned, the Payment Sense, because they were too outcome oriented. It was all sell, commissions, money, targets. And I was like, that's really not an energy that resonates with me. I don't like trying to think that way. I've got my own way of doing it. And that's to go and, you make a connection, you chat to the person. How can I really help you? How can I serve you? And if you go in with that energy, it's a very different approach, isn't it? Then I'll see you as a consultant. This person actually can be very helpful to me in my business, and you become kind of a partner, and that's the way I've built it and I've done it. And maybe you don't make as many sales as quickly because it's more consultative. You spend more time. You don't push as much. You develop the relationship and so on. But in the long term, it works because you build good relationships, and that's what you want to do with these people. There's a connection and a relationship with a person who's communicated, transmitted, or expressed an energy. So this is coming back to the expression. You have to express what's within you in your own heart to them in order for that transmission to take place. If you're not going to express yourself, then the whole process gets blocked, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It must express through you to them. There's an energy transmission that's happening in your communication with them, and they will pick that up, and that energy now is associated to your product. So when they go into the store next and they look at the product, it's not just a bottle with the label, and there's no emotional connection to it. There's a little emotional connection. They're going, oh, actually, I remember that energy, that feeling, and it made me feel good. And that energy is love, isn't it? That's coming through. And then they go, okay, yeah, I'll buy this. And they won't even consciously maybe be aware of why they're buying it, but they're buying it because there's an association of this loving energy with the product. And that only happened through you, because the product itself can't express love. It's just it's a product. You have to infuse it with, that energy coming from your own mind and heart, or from God's mind and heart, really. That's the truth of the matter. It's now infused with divine energy. You just become a channel. And so that's the way, you sell for God. If you think about it, you're selling for this. You're selling love. Actually, that's what you're doing. You're just using a form to do it, because in today's world, if you set up a table and said, "I'm selling love," we'll go, okay, I'm not really sure about that. This is some kind of weird cult, or So you do it through a form. You find a form which is a business, a product or a service that you've got, and then that's the way that you then express them. And so then it's interesting. What's really healing them? Is it the product, or is it the love that's healing them? Maybe it's a combination. So on a physical level, yes, okay, the body's gonna benefit from those products, but what's going to benefit them more is the love, isn't it? Because that's what Jesus is saying. Ultimately, love is the healer. So you're being a healer and a salesperson and a transmitter of this divine energy in your work, and that's beautiful. And just embrace that. It's all the perfect learning of what you need to learn every day. And the money will take care of itself. You've just got to trust that.
Hope so.
Yeah, it really. I mean, it's amazing what happens. Just like synchronicities, things happen, and it just does. And I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, and one could say skated on some very thin ice sometimes, because you don't have a regular income. So how do you do that? Well, you have to just let go. You have to let go of the fear and say, okay, just show me, how's this all going to work? I don't know, but show me. I'm willing to be used, and take the guidance, show up when you need to show up, do what you need to do. And, somehow it does work out. So the Holy Spirit can take care of these details. If you honor it, if you're really in the right spirit, and you don't allow your mind to start obsessing about the outcome and the money, and that's secondary. That will take care of itself if you're in the right energy. So just keep on and trust.
Thank you. That's really valuable.
My pleasure. So Sue.
I'm going to have to go, actually. I don't know how much longer you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we were going to discuss this parable a little bit. So if you can stay for another 10 minutes. Otherwise, thank you for joining. It's good.
Okay,
always good
you.
to.
Yeah.
I hope you got something out of that. And as I said, feel free to join these sessions every day at 12:30. I'll add you to a WhatsApp group, so I'll message the group with the times. And you obviously got my email yesterday. So if you'd like to join the course, it's still available. That early bird discount is still available until midnight tonight.
Yeah.
It would be a pleasure to have you on the journey. We have 3 people so far signed up, so that's a little group forming, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's always good when there's a group of people, because you all learn and benefit from each other, as you've experienced here. Group energy. It's amazing what happens in these discussions. So you're going to stay another 10 minutes, or do you have to go now?
No, I'm going to go now.
You're going to go now. Okay. So yes, I look forward to the journey.
Yeah.
See you again soon, I hope.
See you again. Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Namaste. All right. So maybe we should just have a look at that. Have a look at that parable. So you've watched it a couple of times, I assume.
No, I just watched it once with a lot of concentration.
Okay. So just to recap on that, it's a parable about this king, and he's got 4 wives, and he realizes he's dying. He's very rich, and he's got 4 wives and all the material comforts working off him. Suddenly he gets sick, and he realizes he's dying, and he's on his deathbed. And so he calls his wives to him, because he's now feeling very alone. And he asks his 4th wife, if she'll come with him to beyond the grave, to the afterlife. And she says, no, absolutely not. Can't do that. Not interested. And she just walks away. And he loved this wife the most, so he's quite hurt. And then the third wife, he calls to his deathbed, and he says, well, I've loved you very much, and I've expressed my love in giving you lots of things. So gave her lots of jewelry, fine clothes, everything she wanted materially. But he was always worried that she'd leave him. She'd go somewhere else. And she said, no, I can't do that. I can't go with you. I love this life too much, and my clothes. And she said, I'm going to remarry. I'm going to remarry another rich man. And she walked away. And so the king was very sad, was brokenhearted. So he turned to a second wife. The second wife had always been very loving and caring towards him. And so he asked her, he said, well, I know you've cared for me. Will you go with me? She said, no, I'm sorry, it's not possible for me to do that. But I will make sure that you have a good funeral, and that all the arrangements are taken care of, and your estate is in good order, and so on. But I can't go with you. And so the king was still disappointed. And then all that was left was his first wife standing by his bedside. And she said, without prompting to him, she said, I will go with you. I will go with you wherever you go. I've always been with you. And this was the wife that he'd taken the least care of. He hadn't really paid much attention to her. And she was actually quite skinny and emaciated because of that. And he felt ashamed, because he'd never paid attention to her. Now she was the only one who was truly loyal, who said, I'll go all the way with you. I'll go beyond the body into the afterlife. And that brought him some comfort and peace before he passed away. And so, it's a parable. It's a story which is illustrative of how we live our lives. And the fourth wife symbolizes the body. We all have a body. We like to take care of the body. We adorn the body with, gold and jewelry and possessions, and yet the body, we have to leave the body behind. The body cannot go with us. It's not eternal. It's a very temporary vehicle. So the body doesn't really love us, and it will leave us on our death. So the moral of the story is don't get too attached to the body and the health of the body, or the comforts of the body, the all the material things that we do with the body. We dress it up in fine clothes and put jewelry on it and makeup. Don't get attached to that, because it can't stay with you. And then the third wife symbolizes the material possessions and status that gives you in this world. And those are going to leave you. King was always worried that the wife would leave him, because those possessions are going to leave you. You're ultimately going to lose your possessions. You can't take them with you into the afterlife. And you can lose them while they're here in the world. Things come and go. Money, possessions, you can lose them. They can be damaged. They can be taken away. So you can't really rely on that wife, mother. And the second wife symbolizes your family and your friends. So these are loving relationships that you have while you're here, and those can be wonderful. There's nothing wrong with them, but they can't go with you. You have to leave them all behind ultimately, and let all those go when you drop the body. And so what's left when you've let go of all of those things is your soul, or your spirit. It's your foundation. It's your true mind, your essence, your very essence, your life essence, whatever you want to call it, your soul, your spirit. That is given to you by God. That is eternal. That has always been with you, but most people don't nurture it. They don't give it much attention during their worldly life. And that's why the king was ashamed. It's like, well, I haven't really paid any attention. I've paid attention to the other wives, but not to you. And so you're a bit skinny and undernourished. And yet you're the only one that really is permanent, that is loyal forever. So it's appointed to an eternal presence in your own mind, your soul, your spirit, that is there for you. That is your true nature. No matter what's happening on the level of form, the other wives are temporary and impermanent. They will fade away, but that is with you always, and will go with you once you let go of this particular life, this body, and everything in it. Only your soul goes with you. So the lesson is to honor that, make that primary, because that is your first wife. That's your primary, should be your primary focus, and the others are very secondary. Yes, you have a body. Okay, so take care of the body. Be healthy. There's nothing wrong with that, but don't make that into an idol. Don't make that into something that's more important. Soul. The same with possessions and money. These are tools. You can use them. It's helpful to have some money, some kind of material comfort to live somewhere, to have enough money to clothe and feed yourself and do the basics of life. But don't make it into something that you attach to above your soul. And even your relationships, those can be loving and caring, and love can express through them. But they, ultimately you're gonna have to let those go too, because they can't go with you into the afterlife. You will leave those behind when you die. And they're also temporary. Sometimes relationships don't last in this world. In my experience, my sister was like, okay, well, there's a special relationship there that's seemingly now been severed or disconnected, and that's okay. On the level of form, relationships come and go, but what's permanent and eternal is what we should be focusing on, which is the spirit, is the love of God. So that's that's the true meaning of the parable, and I guess it's just to bring that to mind and let it help you. Parables are meant to help you to learn lessons in your own life, to let go of these other wives, these material attachments, which you do on a mental level. You don't have to wait until your deathbed to do that. You can do it on a daily basis just by not valuing and honoring these things excessively, by not attaching too much importance to your body, to material things, to money, to special relationships even. Not relying on any of these for your happiness now. That's nourishing your soul. That's giving your soul, spirit, its rightful place as primary. That's honoring God in the words of the Course. So from a Course perspective, he's saying, only the love of God is going to sustain you. Only the love of God will be with you always. So give honor to that primarily, and then let that extend through you into these situations that you have in your life, your relationships, your body, your finances, your material possessions, etc. If you can let the love of God direct all of those, then you're doing it inside out instead of outside in. You start with the first wife, and then the second, third, and fourth wives are secondary, not the other way around. The king had it all backwards because he was honoring the fourth wife most, and then the third wife, and then second, and then first. Whereas it was actually the order should have been reversed. So it's making what's foundational, and that's primary, and then the secondary just follows from that. Living your life inside out rather than outside in. That's really the true meaning of the parable. So any comments or questions about that?
No, it's really good.
No. Yeah, well, it is good. Maybe we'll use parables some more because they're a good way of teaching and communicating quite complex ideas in a simple story. And we know Jesus used them a lot in his teaching. He's probably the greatest teacher that's ever lived. So there's definitely something in parables. And I found a site that has lots of them. So maybe we can do a parable every discussion session. It's a nice learning vehicle. So yeah, I guess if there are no more questions, do you want to discuss anything else?
No.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
We wrap it up then.
Perfect.
Okay, so we'll just do a little closing gratitude meditation. Close your eyes. Just take a nice deep breath in. Put your hand in your heart center. And just breathe in the love, the grandeur of God that Jesus talked about in today's text reading. Just breathe it in to your heart, into your mind. Let it infuse every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. Feel the love and imagine it as a golden white light flowing into every cell of your body, every part of your mind. Just feel it deeply, connect with it, and feel the gratitude for it. It's deep gratitude for this loving presence that is always there. It has never left you. It will go with you forever, beyond this body, beyond this world. It is your eternal life, source of your eternal life. So honor it now. Just give thanks for it now. It's the word worship. That's to give worth-ship. So just Feel it, connect with it, embrace it, allow it to infuse you entirely. Smile. Anchor the state in by setting the intention to stay there for the rest of the afternoon and evening, and on into the week ahead. So it is said, so it is done. And now exhale. As you exhale, just have a sense of extending this love, this light, this gratitude out into the world. And bring to mind all of your family, your friends, loved ones. These are the second wives in the parable. And you're just going to extend the light to them, but it's coming from your soul, from your spirit. And it's going to extend into your worldly affairs, your material possessions, your work life, the roles you play. It's going to extend to your entire body. It's infusing your body with the life essence that is the source of health. And you can carry this with you, this presence, into whatever you do over the next few days. Affirm that in your mind, so it is said, so it is done. And carry on with your day and your week in this very much more loving, expanded, and expressive state, which will guide you. All your thoughts, words, and action will be guided by that. So thank you for listening and for joining, Karen, and anyone who's watching the recording. And hope to see you again. Do a session tomorrow at 1:30 South African time. Meditation, good with that. So join us then. Namaste. This means the divine light and love in me acknowledges and honors that same light and love in you.